千里之行，始于足下。A journey of 1,000 miles begins beneath the feet. We now gather in the Tao to travel the journey together. Welcome to Tao Talks with Derek Lin, where we take a deep dive into the Tao Te Ching by Lao Tzu. As always, I want to extend my welcome to you. Thank you for joining us. I would like to invite you to center your thoughts and direct your attention to this moment in time, to the here and now, to be fully present and mindfully aware as we are ready ourselves for this sacred process in the Tao with one another. So let's summarize unraveling the knots with the same internal and external dynamics that we looked at before. First, internally, with thoughts. Let's talk about conflicting or complex thoughts. A lot of times we say, I'm conflicted. I feel conflicted. Sometimes people say, I'm of two minds about that. So this is all different ways to talk about how we sometimes face more than one path. We have to pick and choose, and we don't know which way to go. Sometimes the internal conflict is not about conflicting choices, but then it can be about conflicting with others. So our goal with this chapter is to use the Tao as a guide to help us make the right decision. For conflicting options, when we have multiple paths to pick and choose from, the question to ask would then become, which choice is the closest to being true to ourselves? There may be a path that is extremely appealing, tempting, but then perhaps it brings us no closer to the Tao. There are paths that are tempting, but can take us further away from the Tao. And what about contentious thoughts? Thoughts about conflicts with other people. There are always better ways to resolve the conflict. To contend with others gives rise to even more contention. Retribution brings about even more retribution. This is true at every level of the world, whether it's between nations, groups of people, as well as between ourselves and others around us. And when we're in the middle of it, we don't see another way out. Perhaps we haven't looked at the situation from a different perspective. We can end up with the long, drawn-out situation where all participants are perfectly aware that they are trapped in a deadly cycle of revenge on top of revenge. But despite knowing this as a fact, because they're trapped, they cannot get out. We can learn from that as an example of what not to do in our lives. So this is where we ask the tough question. Are you holding a grudge? If so, it's time to consider letting it go, to make your departure from a toxic situation or environment, utilizing the Tao as a unifying principle, not just within yourself, but also applied to life. Externally, about the environment, we just talked about managing relationships with other people. It leads to mastery of your world. And it's all about simplifying and streamlining everything. Still belongs in the advanced level, but to decrease clutter, to create space, is an important task. And as I mentioned, letting go of holding grudges to identify the sources of negativity. So there you have the internal and the external, as unraveling the knots can apply to both. Our meeting has come to an end, but the journey continues on. Until next time, may the Tao fill you with peace and happiness.